Well, we've come up on a huge new console generation launch, and as you might be able to expect, scalpers are taking advantage. This is a world where we can't not expect this, but that doesn't mean it's not messing things up. We'll talk about it in more depth in a moment, but PlayStation 5 scalpers have more inventory than stores in the United Kingdom. That's wild. How are they doing this? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx we ask the question, how scalpers are ruining the PS5/Xbox Series X launch. So yeah, like I said, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X scalping is, it's a thing that's going on. It's big. If you haven't talked to somebody who has been affected by it, or at least has seen the effects of it, you're probably not talking to a lot of gamers. I mean, things are rosy for console manufacturers. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan had this to say: "Everything is sold. Absolutely everything is sold. I've spent much of the last year trying to be sure that we can generate enough demand for the product, and now in terms of my executive bandwidth, I'm spending a lot more time trying to increase the supply to meet the demand." But consumers, the everyday person who wants to play and enjoy video games, we are talking about what amounts to a pretty serious problem. Probably the most unfortunate aspect of the scalping is that it's not just that they're sapping up extra inventory here and there, they're actively purchasing PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's specifically to take them off of the market and put them in play in another market, a scalped market in which the price is significantly higher. It's not passive. It's extremely active. It's a thing that is done on purpose and with intent. It is a lucrative prospect and it works. There are people who have figured out systems for handling this stuff that totally subvert the fact they're trying to sell as many consoles as possible as quickly as possible. Like I said a moment ago, in the United Kingdom, PlayStation 5 scalpers actually have more inventory than the actual stores do. And this is being accomplished because scalpers are actually coming together, pooling their resources and generating marketplaces that give them a lot more control over, you guessed it, the supply. They're able to name prices at the moment for a lot of locations, not everywhere, mind you. Some people are just walking right into stores and finding these damn things, which is bizarre, but most of us aren't so lucky. The UK group that did this is one of many, and to understand how it works, they organize in a Discord in which they have people go to places and buy first. They know where they're showing up first, they know where supply is going to, they understand supply routes, they understand store rollout plans. It is taken care of down to a T. And the interesting thing about it, it is neither based exclusively in the physical world or online. Yes, you have a lot of people sitting on that Discord server using bots, proxies, and ordering with multiple accounts, sending to multiple addresses. It is actually an extremely intricate operation that they charge people to be a part of. You pay to enter that Discord because obviously it is a lucrative prospect and the place to be if that's what you're into. And if you want to know why it's so lucrative and why there is a market for it, think about all of the parents of upper middle class suburban kids that do not pay attention to gaming news, don't know when things launch, don't know what a pre-order is, don't know any of the lingo, the procedure, or the mechanics of purchasing a game console in the normal times, let alone the big console launch times. Those people find out there isn't any available at the store and have to figure out how to give their kid the thing that their kid wants for Christmas. So they take to Facebook, they see that scalpers are doing that, and they're like, well, whatever. And if you say to yourself, well, it would be much better if they just didn't do that. That would provide no incentive for scalpers to do this. That's not how any of this works. The demand that was generated for these consoles was generated by Sony. A massive marketing apparatus exists, and there is absolutely more demand than supply at the moment. To some extent, this is even by design, as they very clearly marketed it knowing the amount of PlayStation 5s would be out in the market. If you don't understand that it actually looks really good for Sony, that for a month or so people are willing to pay way more than the product is worth for the product, I don't know what to tell you. But it really is a good look for Sony. Sony sells out everything that they intended to, their business plan is executed to a T, and on top of that, these scalpers are making the product seem like it's worth significantly more than it is. I personally have quite a disdain for the scalpers. I think that it's just crap to do this stuff to people. But at the same time, I also think of the entity with a larger amount of power in this situation and think, well, is Sony benefiting? Yeah, they are, and they don't have to look like they're happy about it. They can look like they're on the side of the people, but in reality, they are kind of the ones that engineered the situation. Now, please keep in mind, I do not sympathize with the scalpers personally, but a lot of Facebook scalpers go ahead and even say, these people are doing what they can to put money on the table. These are enterprising people who may or may not be in an amazing economic position and are attempting to have an easier time this holiday season. I would wager with the sheer number of people they have working together on it that some of them actually are depending on the PlayStation 5 to be sold to actually literally put food on the table. That doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, validate their decision to do this, but again, I want to repeat, it's not them that made this possible. It's Sony, Microsoft, and the system that they both operate in. And just to be really clear, it's so hard to remain sympathetic to people trying to get by who are involved with this type of thing because the people who are running it are so blatant. When Sony thanked gamers for having the biggest console launch ever, that group that had a bigger number of consoles than retailers in the UK replied saying, "Great news." They also have very explicitly stated their intentions to continue attempting to affect the market. That is to say, buying up all of the consoles as they become available and selling them at much higher prices as we get closer and closer to Christmas. One of the people in charge of it even estimates that they'll be selling consoles for about £1,000. That's about $1,300 during the days before Christmas. This will, of course, be to accommodate the last-minute dashes from people who have no idea how to get a PlayStation and maybe physically can't due to the scalpers doing this. These scalper groups are happy to do it with the PlayStation 5, which has been in the news more for it. However, they have been doing it just as much with the Xbox Series X, to the point where Phil Spencer has been kind of trying to solve the problem, although stuff he's proposing I wouldn't call my favorite idea in terms of what it sounds like. In talking about how the Xbox Series X shortages are going to be continuing, likely due in part to the scalper problem, he's been talking about needing to require deposits on consoles before you're allowed to pre-order it. That, might curb some of this, but I'm just wondering if there even is going to be another console generation. That's obviously a completely different discussion, but to me, it's interesting that he's even talking about it. It goes further than just scalping consoles, too. eBay had to issue a warning to people selling photos of PS5s because people don't understand that they're simply bidding on a photograph and end up, spending a whole bunch of money on a photograph, which is crap, pure evil. I would say much more evil than scalping, but buyer beware. Please, if you're going to look into buying a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X this holiday season over a bidding website or a marketplace, look at the fine print, look into it, make sure that you are not spending console money on a photograph. But even just with scalping being the issue, some people are pranking scalpers and it's pretty darn funny. For instance, some guy told a scalper he was going to buy a PlayStation for $1,000 and got him to drive down to a comedy club. And after a little bit of frustration of the two of them, quote unquote, not being able to find each other, he said, "Are you for sure at the comedy club?" The scalper said yes. He said, "Great, now you can walk in and tell them you're trying to sell a PlayStation 5 for $1,000. I'm sure you'll end up with a job in there." Which is probably not actually a funny enough joke to get you a job, but I would say calling what they do a joke isn't the least accurate thing that one could do. It's kind of a dick move. Frankly, I really don't like what they're doing, despite the fact that to some extent I do understand that some of them are doing it because they need to make some kind of money. This is a tight part of the year, but that doesn't make scalping cool. Again, for all of you out there, be careful. They will go above and beyond and do something that will probably screw you. It's possible, and you should look out. Have you had any experiences with a scalper? Have you dealt with this in any way? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe and do not forget to enable all notifications. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. And we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.